Hey, you ever wonder about life on Mars or what it would be like to live in space?
You know what? I do wonder that sometimes,
Yeah.
frequently.
Yeah.
What about you? Have you ever had trouble striking up a conversation with somebody?
Like every day on the bus. Hey, you want to go see that new Hobbit movie?
You know, I did see that Hobbit movie.
Wait, we did? We saw
yeah,
that
we
movie.
saw that movie just like the other day.
Hey, Christmas is coming up.
Christmas is coming out. I wonder what Santa Claus is going to get us.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another week at The Man Panel. And here are your hosts, Jack Lumber and the Green Giant.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 5th week of the Man Panel. I'm here with Jack Lumber, and I'm the Green Giant. And we have some manly news for you today. What's going on with that carbon stuff on Mars, Jack?
Well, Mr. the Green Giant, you guys remember that that Curiosity rover that they launched a couple years ago? It's a cute little rover with wheels and solar panels and stuff that goes.
Kind of like Wall-E from that movie.
Yeah, and explores Mars.
Wall-E.
Pretty cool stuff. Anyway, we just discovered this article about Curiosity finding traces of organic molecules on Mars. One of those being methane. They said there is a sharp spike in methane emissions on there. Also, it's like the planet might have farted a little bit.
Farted a little bit. Yeah. Mars fart.
Mars fart. Fun stuff. Let's see. Curiosity also detected different Martian organic chemicals in powder drilled from the rock. The first definitive detection of organics in surface materials of Mars. These Martian organics could either have formed on Mars or been delivered to Mars by meteorites. They really like the word Mars in that article because I read it like 6 times.
Right.
Anyway, organic molecules, which contain carbon and usually hydrogen, are chemical building blocks of life, as many of you know. Although they can exist without the presence of life. So this article is not saying that we found life on Mars. We're just saying we found traces of organic material, which is still really freaking exciting because however many years ago we were still limited to the moon, and now we're exploring little small details of the red planet. Very interesting.
Right, which is awesome. And actually, earlier this week, Jack showed me a hilarious video from, was it My Friendly Alien?
My Favorite Martian.
My Favorite Martian, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, every time I think about them making a new discovery that's, amazing like this, I keep thinking about the opening scene where he, and I saw this just the one time, and I was dying. They're going to explore this rock, right? It's like this, oh yeah, this is the new rock we're looking at, and they're starting to have like some voltage issues, like, power is running out.
You're basically hearing people from NASA
Right.
talking, and you're looking at the rover on Mars. So.
Exactly. So they're like going to find this rock, and they're starting to like drill it or poke at it or whatever. And it's like, oh, we're getting all this data. Oh, it died. The rover, its power's out.
Oh man, the rover's dead. And this is what they said. They said, "Congratulations, everyone. We've categorized 12 new or two dozen new
rocks
forms, kinds of rocks." I think that's 5 years and $3 trillion really well spent.
Yeah.
And then as you pan up
from the rock that you were looking at, a Martian city.
A Martian city. The whole civilization.
Skyscrapers and like hover cars, and whatever.
Yeah, we're excited about the rocks. So I mean, that's what stage we're at right now, because the surface of Mars is huge, and we're nowhere near done exploring it.
Right.
So, but how hilarious would it be if there were?
I mean, like
Martians up there
already.
and
We're just looking in the wrong spots.
Yeah.
Like, we're on the wrong side of the planet. Like, 3 miles down, they've got this amazing city with, Mars.
We sent our probes to the desert because it's easy to land there, but really
why would they land there?
There's like tribes living in the mountains.
Sense.
Who knows?
I do wonder if they're tribal. I know we talked about that earlier this week too.
That's an interesting question. If you guys would like to comment on this, what your opinions are,
we'd love to know
it.
what you think.
We'd love to hear it.
So
So if we find alien life on Mars, do you think they would be more advanced than us or less? That's what we wonder. We're not sure.
No, I was wondering about that. Like, okay, so we think we're so advanced, and aliens obviously have to be much more advanced than we are, at least in most movies that we see, because they come to our planet, But what if they're just kind of like running around like in tribes, killing wild, animals on their own planet, like some space pig or something, for dinner? I don't know. It's an interesting thought. So let us know what you think. And speaking of NASA, actually, some really cool stuff going on. Turns out that they had this, what was his name? Billy, let me find it. Billy, Excuse me. It's Barry Wilmore, right? So this guy's in the International Space Station, and he needs a wrench, right? And so he didn't have it with him, so they just emailed him one. Essentially, they emailed him the design for a wrench. They designed this wrench in like CAD software. They sent all that to the space station, which has a 3D printer. And this isn't the first time they've 3D printed an object in space, but this is the first time that they've sent one that an astronaut needed. So they designed this wrench. They sent it to him via email, and then they started printing. And now he has the wrench that he needs. That's just like teleportation, essentially.
Essentially, and it's. I think of it as something out of Star Trek, where you have like a food synthesizer or something. It's just like, I need a wrench. Push the button, and you have the wrench.
It's incredible.
Very, very cool stuff. Chris, Mr. the Green Giant, has actually invested a little bit in 3D printing companies. Right. Very, very cool stuff.
How exciting is that? I mean, no, it's not like this happens every day or whatever, but this is essentially the future of 3D printing. You need something else that to take forever to transport it. Boom. Nope. I'm going to go ahead and email it instead. Like, you can do that. And it can, I mean, whenever we use different platforms, like, if we can print clothing, if we can print food, just like you're talking about with the either it's a holodeck or a food synthesizer. I can't speak today. How cool is that? That's incredible.
I'm thinking back on Mars, like or a lunar colony or something like that. We send people there originally, but then you can send all the other stuff they need. You send a crew with like a 3D printer,
right?
And essentially, you can print all the other stuff that you would need along the way,
right?
From plans sent from Earth, or I don't know, an orbiting satellite, something like that.
Anything.
It'd be very cool.
You need like the basics, like you'd need some form of metal or plastic or food or whatever. Like you need the building blocks, but other than that, like you wouldn't need the actual material itself. I mean, it would print for you. Oh, you just need the building blocks.
Very cool stuff.
Really cool stuff.
Also pretty interesting. Not in space, a little bit closer to home and farther in the past. We found this article. There has been a time capsule that's been buried since 1795, presumably by Paul Revere and Sam Adams, was unearthed Thursday in Boston at a Massachusetts state house, possibly the oldest such U.S. artifact ever uncovered. They say it's about the size of a cigar box. It was copper, so as you can imagine, it's now green and caked in plaster. Oxidized, the same thing with the Statue of Liberty. Yep. You guys didn't know that's made of copper. And that's why it's green now. So
it looks like these guys spent a few hours. Actually, it was covered in plaster, so whenever they buried it, they've been digging it out, and then they chiseled away the plaster. So now the object is to, I think, X-ray the box actually to see what the contents are. Some gold coins fell out initially, which they believed were luck charms, if you have if you will. Which, I mean, obviously it's fairly lucky they found it intact and wasn't destroyed in some demolition or something. Yeah. So pretty lucky there.
Anyway, pretty darn interesting that a couple of our quote-unquote founding fathers left something there we found 220 some years later.
That's crazy.
Pretty neat.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, who thinks of a time? I mean, whenever I've done it before, your class puts a time capsule away, they bury it, next to the school or something. I mean, but really, I'm going to find a note to myself that says, "You go, Chris, I'm really glad you're successful now." Like that, okay. But and now, 200 years later, we're going to find, they say potentially, a plate, that was engraved by Paul Revere, and there's a couple other things, a piece of parchment, probably a letter, but, who knows?
Pretty epic stuff.
Pretty epic.
And we're going to switch gears here and turn over to Manly movie reviews.
Manly movie!
So, Chris and I both saw I'm sorry, I keep calling you by your real name. I don't know why I keep doing that.
It was my Christian name. So
you're giving
Christian name.
Anyway, Green Giant and I saw The Hobbit this week.
It was good.
It was a pretty awesome movie.
For those of you who have watched this series, I mean, go see it. Don't not see it. It's a very good movie. We had a couple qualms though. I mean,
we had some
a couple
issues.
things.
Like it wasn't. I haven't read the book in a long time. I'm planning on going and doing that again. And I'm sure people who have read the book would say that they threw in all this stuff that wasn't there. Right. I don't care about that.
Right.
I think they had good artistic license. They tried to complete various parts of an incomplete story from Tolkien's notes. Well directed, good effects for the most part. There was one scene we did not particularly appreciate the effects in.
Yeah.
One of the dwarves was like a full CGI.
Right. That was a little bothersome.
In any case, overall, we're going to say that Desolation of Smaug, the second Hobbit, was probably the best of the trilogy.
Absolutely. I mean,
this one, Battle of the Five Armies, was excellent, but not quite the same as that.
The same caliber as the prior one.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, you have a dragon, and I mean, like whenever you have a significant portion of every movie, that being the prior, just about this dragon, Smaug, and just how they did such a great job with him. I mean, we were talking about the potential of maybe naming out some really manly characters for 2014, and we don't have a full list here, but definitely Bilbo makes it on the list because of his interaction with Smaug. I mean,
Bilbo,
yeah, he's the man. He's basically okay. So in the previous one, he encounters this dragon. I mean, not only is he like small by a man, compared to a man, like he's the half of the size that you and I and the listeners would be, but he's also. I mean, he's going up against a dragon that everyone's been afraid of.
A dragon that destroyed a dwarf kingdom,
exactly.
like all by himself.
That's awesome. Who does that? This guy's got a wow.
Yes, we think Bilbo is a very, very manly person. And you might not think of him as one of the manly characters. He's surrounded by dwarves with like braided beards,
huge axes, and
big swords and stuff, gold and
he's got
stuff.
A pen or an envelope opener, essentially.
A pig sticker. I'm not even sure that's a sword.
Right.
But anyway, he goes up. He just goes up against this dragon all by himself. The dwarves stay outside, if you guys remember in the first one. So we think he's a very manly character because he's actually very courageous. Mm-hmm. And in this movie, you start to see a little bit more, not just courage, but also wisdom. And we think that's a very good manly quality for guys to have. Mm-hmm. So you see him start to think about ways to prevent the war from happening. And if you read the books, it's a similar deal. The five armies are gathering to fight, and basically this movie was like a long version of Helm's Deep in the Lord of the Rings.
Yes, it was.
So you see Bilbo sneaking around trying to find peace and using his influence and parts of the treasure and stuff to try to keep the blood from being spilled,
and also to give peace to his friends. I mean, at this point, he is a friend of the dwarves, and one in particular, he's just trying to prevent harm from coming to him by keeping him from something that he wants. By bringing peace, by not necessarily giving him what he wants right then and there.
Yeah, and while many of the dwarves are like the go get them, slice up those orcs and stuff like that. They have their swords and armor and all this stuff. We think Bilbo is the more masculine character because his strategy, his wisdom, and his courage was far exceeding those of the other ones. Mm-hmm. And the dwarves kind of let their rage get the best of them, and that's not what a real man does.
Right.
So that's our review. Pretty awesome. We like the movie. We think Desolation of Smaug was better, but we think you guys should see it anyway.
Absolutely see it. It was a good movie.
Yes, it was.
So we have a couple manly tips right now for you. Manly tip 1, it's a Christmas tip. Right.
All right, I'm going to take this one. A Christmas tip I read the other day. This deals with when, let's say, you have a wealthier family living next door to a poorer family. Mm-hmm. Say this happens. The one dad makes $150,000 a year. The other dad makes 50, and he has 3 more kids or something. So he's a little bit poorer, we'll say. Mm-hmm. So you guys know maybe the richer family kids will get like a go-kart or an Xbox or something from Santa Claus. Whereas the poorer family, he may not get as big a present from Santa Claus. So the tip was this. Go ahead, sorry.
Any kids listening right now, earmuffs, cover your ears. They shouldn't be hearing this part.
Probably not.
Just give them time. Get the kids out of the room right now. And on with the tip.
Okay, so the tip here is that for small gifts, say that they're from Santa Claus, put them under the tree, like I don't know, like small toys, maybe like a knitted hat or something like that. Smaller things that anybody could get and that they're going to appreciate.
But anyone could get,
Right. Bigger gifts, say them from you. Okay, so that way, children don't grow up thinking that Santa Claus discriminates against them for being poor. So essentially, like, you get the rich kid who believes that Santa Claus gives him gifts like a go-kart, and you get a poorer kid who believes that Santa Claus only gives him socks. Then he's questioning, like, why does he give them more stuff than me? And
Right.
it seems to be a little unfair. So put big stuff, if you're going to buy your kid an Xbox, say that's from you. Don't say that's from Santa Claus. And this is twofold. It teaches them that Santa Claus does not discriminate, and it teaches them that the value of earning and purchasing the things that you want and saving up for them and stuff like that. Because, like, I want
My
an
dad, my
Xbox.
mom got me this.
Yeah.
Versus Santa Claus,
Start to learn the value of money. Where Santa Claus is magic, he could conjure these things whenever he wanted. Whereas on my parents bought them for me, they start to see the value of currency. So that's kind of cool.
That's a good one. And we have our second tip here, which is over the past couple of weeks, we've encouraged people to get outside their four walls and off the internet and to break the fourth wall, so to speak, go meet people and try to create these one-on-one friendships. And so some conversation tips and here's some ways to do that. So first and foremost, I mean, when you are meeting people either for the first time or whether I guess you're kind of already friends, you have to start a conversation. You can't just stand there and stare at each other. It's awkward.
It's true. So I would say the first thing you're going to want to do is introduce yourself.
With a nice firm handshake,
We did
it right now. We're holding our hands firmly. I wish you could see it, but you can't. Grip the other person's hand and introduce yourself. Give your name, because even if they, maybe you met them once. I mean, there are times, I know I've been there, where I'm, having a conversation. I'm thinking to myself, what is this person's name? In which case, I'm really not listening to what they're saying. I'm more concerned with, oh my God, I hope someone says their name real quick because I don't remember and they know mine. Ah!
Honestly, I think in that situation, the best and most manly thing you can do is just own up to that fact.
Right.
I do not remember your name. I'm very sorry. My name's Christian. I don't know. If you remember that, wonderful.
That's great.
I'm sorry. I'm bad with names. I don't remember yours. Please tell me again so that we can continue. You're
Exactly.
interested in
yeah.
being honest and continuing that relationship, whatever it is. And yeah, they know you're not just full of crap.
And then just ensue from there. I mean, once the conversation gets started, it's not that hard to, keep up, obviously. Ask questions about the other person. Don't just talk about yourself all the time and dominate the conversation and talk forever.
And listen to what they have to say.
Listen to what they have to say, and just ask them about it. Be genuinely interested. Put your phone away and sit there and, look them in the eye. Don't, stare at them, but, look them in the eye and just kind of engage in a conversation. And if you don't know this person, maybe you haven't, spoken to them before, it's pretty easy to start the conversation. Maybe compliment the person or, just say, how's your day? Or, hey, how about this weather? It's small talk. Just start something small.
We said today that probably if you're approaching a man, compliment his beard. That's probably a good
safe
start.
place to start.
If he has one. If he doesn't have one, you have to make something else.
Okay, man,
his
nice watch.
Or something. Or
I like that
colored
belt or
shirt.
whatever. Yeah, nice plaid shirt.
Something like that. But
I noticed you're reading, War and Peace. How's that?
Beards are a good one though, because speaking
start.
as a man who has a beard, if someone comes up and compliments me on my beard, I'm gonna love them instantly.
Yeah.
I was running an Ironman triathlon this summer, and I probably got compliments on my beard more often on that race than I did get encouragement for anything else. There were a lot of people that were cheering you on and be like, "Yeah, man, you can do it." But most often, I heard, "Dude, that's an awesome beard. You're gonna be Iron Beard."
Iron Beard.
It was wonderful. In
Now,
any case,
when it comes to the ladies, let's start a conversation, maybe complimenting them on, say, their hair or maybe their smile or, again, a book they're reading. Let's, leave physical beauty out of the equation. It's usually yeah.
Because oftentimes in today's society that this could be a tip as well.
Yeah.
No, it is a tip. What am I talking about? We're still on tips. I don't even know what I'm doing. So oftentimes in today's culture, friendliness
right.
is misconstrued as interest.
Exactly.
So we got to be kind of careful sometimes when we're
that.
talking to ladies. But here's my point, and yours as well, I'm sure. We're too afraid of rejection sometimes, I think, and we don't want to actually make conversations with people or try to build friendships. And that's just kind of lame. Like, I do it. I'm an introvert. I kind of do that sometimes. But you never know what kind of awesome conversation you're going to have with someone at the bus stop or someone in jury duty,
That's right.
So just take a step. Like, be confident in yourself. Be confident and firm in your handshake. And be confident that you have something to offer this other person.
Which you
'Cause
do. Absolutely.
Anyway.
So moving on from that to our encouragement, we, it's interesting. Bill Johnson is a pastor for Bethel Church, and he had an interesting teaching this past week. I listened to his podcast in the mornings on my way to work, and he mentioned that sometimes we don't necessarily get what we're praying for. We don't receive the blessing we want in the time in which we want it. It's not according to our schedule. So his explanation for that and how we can look at that positively was that anytime a miracle occurs in your life, or just in general, anytime a miracle occurs, God releases His weight, His presence, His glory in that area, like in the world, right? Because the goal is to be essentially on earth as it is in heaven, and I mean that was what Jesus prayed for, and that's really the ultimate goal. We are to bring God into the world and to be the light for for people. So when you don't necessarily receive what you're asking for, what you're praying for right away, it's actually a good thing, because when that weight and that glory and that presence is released on a place, if we as believers aren't prepared to bear that, and we're not of character, to uphold that glory and that weight that He unleashes. Actually, it's been seen in certain scriptures in the Old Testament and whatnot that can crush you. It can destroy you. Yeah. And Jesus actually references that in I want to say it's John 16, and that's where He's talking to Peter. He says, "Hey, I have a lot of things on my heart to tell you, but you cannot bear them now." Yep. And so there's a lot that He wants to tell, but He can't handle it. So He's not. So God actually veils Himself for our protection out of His mercy.
Yeah, I find that interesting that people say, "Oh well, if God's real, why doesn't He come out of the clouds and show Himself?" Well, because the earth would be obliterated. That's why.
Yeah.
If you think of this being we think of like a bearded grandfather up in the clouds, but He's really not like that. He's a spirit who essentially, we believe, created all, is perfect, is just ridiculously glorious. So there's no possible way we could survive an face-to-face encounter with this person.
Straight up die, man. That's what happens when people see God. That's happened before.
So I think that's one of the reasons why the spiritual realm is separated from this one, because our physical form is not capable of witnessing that. And yeah. So that's today's show. That's about it for today. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what's coming up. Christmas is coming up.
Yeah.
So, just so you guys know, we are going to be doing a book project called Epic Tales of Manliness.
That's right.
It's happening. This first one, I mentioned last week that Santa Claus is kind of wimpy. And Green Giant and I were out in the mall today, and we saw one of these stupid dancing, fat, jiggly Santa Claus
Disgraceful.
Disgraceful. I'm like, this is dumb. I don't like how Santa Claus is portrayed, so I'm going to make a better story. We will be recording the tale of the Scarlet Sorcerer, a.k.a. Epic Santa Claus.
Epic Santa.
Next week, we're going to have it out Christmas Eve.
That's right. It's going to be out Christmas Eve, so be ready for an epic tale of Santa.
Anyway, this is Jack Lumber.
And Green Giant.
And we'll see you guys later. Thanks
for
listening.
See ya.